And we have to use the source of renewal that it is that a new guy is coming in here and ask him to say, what are you actually seeing when you come in here? And it does not necessarily have to be an artist, but I think it would be wonderful to have an artist every now and then to come and see it, because
2005, Henrik Schratt, Marie Brellox, with consultant Bernhard Kruscher and CEO Wolf Rüdiger Feldman from Cornelissen, invited a dozen artists to use one firm as their model. How do artists go about seeing and learning? Listen to one artist's reaction when Feldman asked.
Because you're talking to a lot of people inside Cornelissen, to a lot of colleagues. Do you think we were right at the beginning, what we told you to do? Or not?
My colleague and I, we need more time, and we need direct experience, not descriptions from your part. So you gave a lot of information, you were very open, and I appreciate the gesture, but the actual content of the information is not digestible for us as such, because it describes your view or your colleagues' view on what they describe as the organization, but the description is very much in formal terms, as the way you are used to describe an organization. And for us, this information is too poor. It is very good information, but it is not the right, it's a different kind of information that we actually need to make art.
As Taike Esselbergs implies, maybe Cornelissen, the naked firm, actually never stripped itself of its discursive information decoration. She and her artist friends had trouble finding cracks in the formal mask. They looked for something else, more juicy material to be able to find the right schwung. 4 years earlier, artist Hans Brisnik of Das Arts Amsterdam went doing art in a corporation at night, when all talking heads were gone, when truth might have a chance of appearing without form interfering and stopping it. Henrik Schratt makes a guided tour for the company people at the opening in Berlin 2005. One of the relational tools for company use were simply Lego blocks, by which Matt Statler of Imagination Lab offered to engage business people in what he calls serious play.
If I may, that would be the only thing that I would add to what Schratt is saying here. That as a research foundation, the Imagination Lab is engaged in the activity of facilitating play-based processes where managers use this medium to learn about themselves and their organization. As such, we are just one small part of a movement within organization and management studies, right? Here in Europe and in America, right? Within the universities, among the professors who study BAL and VWL, right? There's a group of people, there are groups of people who are turning to art and aesthetics as a way to theorize how people in organizations can deal more effectively with the reality.
People are too serious. Make them play again. That might be the role of artists in business. And make businesses dare showing their real face. Take off the formal shroud of success. Philippe Mérès wants business to use an aesthetic definition of beauty.
And I think it's just exactly the opposite. I mean, beauty is linked to failure. You know those old Greek theories about beauty and the necessity for disymmetry. That symmetrical is too much, too perfect for the human beauty. You always need a theory in the attempt to be symmetrical. I mean, this is what I'm talking about. I mean, to the beauty of being human. And I mean, the deep beauty is to be. What does it mean to be human? To behave humanly, and then it means both an attempt to be perfect and a failure to be perfect. Then in that case, you have beauty, success, and failure, and all this is like a circle, a cycle. If you take one point off, it's not a cycle anyway, it's just a two-pole position.
Ken Friedman on beauty and truth.
When you talk about integrity, what many short-term managers look upon as a beautiful strategy is very bounded and is not an act of integrity because it functions without justice toward all the colleagues in the company, all the legitimate stakeholders of the company of itself, or the company embedded in society. It's really, am I going to make my nut for this quarter, and even often, will this strategy make the appearance of making my nut for this quarter to either get me my bonus or push the stock up to get me my new set of shares or get me my next job so that I will be somewhere else when 2 years down the line what I know will really happen from this beautiful strategy.
The artists have realised that there's a wall there, but rather than being concerned about this wall, they're playing with the wall and they're going around the wall and saying, look, the wall is still there, you know, we're not going to say it's not there. But managers are unwilling to take that risk because managers are concerned with cultures which is about blame, there's about power, there's about control, which artists don't have the same degree of, because they want to stretch this notion. That's what's great about artists. You know, they say, look, yeah, we know these things exist, but we're prepared to stretch them. We want to see how much we can test them.
Insider artists get under the skin of businesses. Insider art is about aesthetic consulting that demands honest client relation. Once good, healthy, wealthy companies paid second-rate artists for embellishing and decorating. Now, first-class artists treat economic problems when companies and organizations in trouble ask for their assistance. London banker Dominic Palfreyman.
Which was quite unusual because certainly my experience of that in banking was it was always kind of an icing on the cake. Okay, we work very hard, we make lots of money, we can afford to do a little bit of corporate art sponsorship or have an art collection or whatever, but it's very much because we're successful we can do these things because they're not that important. Whereas for Unilever, they said our share price is down, our business is doing badly, we need to change. So they have artist residencies, they send people out they give people leaves of absence to go and do creative or cultural work. They interact in a whole range of different ways.
2001, Henrik Schraut talked about his view of the gap between business jargon and art speak. Product Vision 2005, Ariane Bertoin-Antal asks Schraut if he has been able to narrow that gap over the years.
After having worked with you for a while, do they change their language too? You see a shift in how they are talking about
At least once we worked close to it, I would say yes. I mean, after we exchanged 5 emails or so, somebody realized it's always like this. Somebody realizes that you can speak a bit more relaxed and that you can use also private terms, that it doesn't have to be so highly official. But then comes this fantastic thing with the person and the organization, because then he is not at his place at the moment, and the email gets passed on to I don't know, the secretary or somebody else. And then of course the tone you have found in a personal level doesn't work anymore. But I guess that also happens in between business communication, I kind of guess.
The ones introducing artists in the art world are critics. In the business world, consultants play a role similar, but rather complex, as Philippe Mérès.
Different things. There were, in the beginning, the consultant was behaving much more like a sponsor in art, or a producer, like a gallerist that is producing a new piece. So financing the production, the research, the development, the people, little. Till we came to something that was working. But during this process, of course, we were working together. It was not only paying. Of course, we were designing and conceiving the project together. It was much like a movie producer. You know, the movie producer, he pays, of course, he finds financing, but he's also he can be also very close to the author, and he can rewrite or having the script rewritten a few times. He can ask for another actor. He can really act and create the thing. So it was like this.
Like an art critic, the consultant judges the role of the artist to the audience, rediscovering the human face of a firm.
And they did stop at profits, but for Cornelissen, as for any company and organization in the world, it is very important to be not only a place where people sort of make profit and money, but it's a place where they spend their lives.
I mean, I had a very precise examination of the relational ethics, the book by Boyot, and I reviewed a big exhibition by Guillet, who is one of the main artists, relational artists, mainly quoted in Boyot's book. And when you really look at that very close, the core meaning of this relational ethic is that to criticize the new capitalism, you have to develop this relational ethic, okay, which can be discussed a lot, but that is point. And what they have to do, the artists, the curators, the art space, is to show that these artists, these curators are understanding this new capitalist world better than the businesses themselves.
Typecast as either emotional creators or rational, uncreative managers. Both artists and managers actually protest.
What you're saying is like insane. You know? It's like, what is this person talking about?
I do really not agree that people working in a company are paid to be not creative. I think that's totally nonsense.
Hans-Jörg Gadamer might be worthwhile listening to when it comes to the idea of reason and rationality. And he says,
ich mache diese Beobachtung in der Tat öfters, dass ich mir sage, Vernunft, das weiß
what reason is, no one knows. But we all know what is reasonable. Not to demand the impossible of others or of life, and to accept limits and limitations.
Oder an die Lebenssituation stellt, sondern dass man in allem bereit ist, Grenzen und Einschränkungen und damit auch Forderungen, die an einen gestellt werden, annimmt.
La philosophie, je vais faire ma philosophie. Ah oui, moi j'ai ma philosophie.
Or why not listen to Gilles Deleuze, for whom philosophy is like color? And before, as he says, entering philosophy, we need to be extremely careful before we can use philosophical color, that is, in other words, concepts. We have to work hard making philosophical portraits.
Ou d'arriver à inventer des concepts. Mais il faut un tel travail. Et moi je crois que l'histoire de la philosophie, c'est cette lente modestie. Il faut faire longtemps des portraits.
Real aesthetics in management is the opposite to what Steve Taylor is afraid of.
And aesthetics simply becoming another tool. In many ways, I think the future of art and management is about going that extra layer. And this, another plug for this art management conference. This art management conference has been discussing these issues about getting beneath the surface. You know, saying really, what is it trying to do? You know, because if it's just sexy.
And as Jonathan Schroeder and Janet Borgerson showed in Berlin 2001, there are indeed businesses that use aesthetics as a sexy tool to sell their products.
Film company that makes cameras, so the company that creates the information technology, and also the maker of film, so what you put into your camera that will record your image, allowing you to create representations like this one. Kodak founded the Kodak Hula Show in Hawaii. This is a performance that's put on
every hour on the hour.
Every hour on the hour. And you can buy your Kodak film at the store.
It sells it's the second largest selling site for Kodak film after Disney World.
So if you customize.
But even management consultant Joseph Pine Jr., who sells advice on how to set up an experience business, sees limitation of his own instrumentality.
Because the second time you have an experience is not going to be as good as the first. The third time it's not going to be as good as that. And pretty soon you have your customers mouthing those immortal words, been there, done that. Right? That's the words of a commoditized experience, been there, done that. And so because experiences are going to be commoditized as well, there's actually a fifth and final economic offering in this progression. When you customize the experience, think about designing an experience that is so appropriate for a particular person. That's exactly the right experience that they need right now. Right? No other experience will do. Then you can't help but turn it into what we often call a life-transforming experience.
Reverend Pine seems to preach that ideology or religion comes next after consumption, cheap experiences. But between the shabby banality and the totalitarian kick, between sheer materialism and pure empty form, there must be something else. Yeah, art. February 2005. Another of the classical masters of business art moved his project to the huge Jardin, Central Park, New York. This master has long presented his artwork in pure terms of free aesthetic enterprise.
I like to make a work of art. Work of art deals with beauty, proportion, color, volumes. The second point, I pay for that. There will be no tax money, and community will benefit. The money will be spent to the community. And the third, we will recycle all the materials. There are no waste. Nothing will be going to this any place. It will go back to the industry, to agriculture. They're all very valuable materials. What I like to point to that the experience of art I like to translate to the people.
CEO Thomas Sunesson relates his Gates experience to his own business reality.
Maybe we can use art, maybe we can use designers, produce new kind of products, new type of kind of services, where the value is so much bigger that we don't need to care that much about cost.
But with experienced businessman Joseph Bryan, Christo rings another important bell.
What she did consistently as a poetess was lie, and they finally got rid of her. So they certainly want the promise of profits. They certainly react to it. She had time enough to make herself a golden parachute. You know what that means. So she's never going to be poor again. But Hewlett-Packard's price is well below half of where it was when she signed on. The company's got to do all this recovery. So what I'm saying is, truth still counts. You know, standing for something still counts.
To Mr. Bryan, as to Plato, art puts the question of truth. But isn't it amazing that wrapped parcels 40 years ago have grown today into 7,000 saffron gates? And look at the publications. They are full of formal accounts of engineering technique utilized, and the fact sheet provide ample quantification of all the materials used. So in a sense, the gate is an ode to old industrial production, and we are told all about form and all about matter. But if we unwrap this art, what remains more than Christo and Jean-Claude? What is the mystery? And what makes Samuel Beckett's monks maintain equilibrium in the quadrat? Carl Waren and Olafur Kirkeby tries to go to the center of the matter.
So there is a midfield, and if the midfield is open on a soccer, field, that's very dangerous because somebody's going to take the midfield, and the midfield today is taken by people with purely short-term, egotistic and egoistic, mostly economistic sort of interests, sometimes with some political ideology varnish to it to make it look a bit nicer. And I think that the time has come a long time ago for people with your interest in aesthetics and ethics and the arts and the way of communicating in a new sense, sharing experiences in a new sense, having impact on behavior in a new sense, is long overdue.
To state that there exists an essence. Of course there exists an essence. We cannot make philosophy if we don't think there's an essence. We have learned that we mustn't speak about the essence. But the only way to relate ethics and aesthetics to each other is to restate, to let it come back to us, the idea of the essence.
The essence is in the midfield. That's where the schwung is. That's where the heart has light and not darkness. Outsider artists are bound to be insiders today and to show us our secret room, our secret heart.
And then it's away. I think that we should be better at enjoying having a problem as understood as something here is absurd. It's not real, it does not make sense. But before we do some actions, let's stay in it and look at it and discuss it.
Hans Ulrich Obrist sees art as inventing new forms for business interaction.
The exhibition as a format has been so much questions and attacked from all sides, but that the conference and the symposium have actually not done that. And this is a unique opportunity for the 21st century to do to the conference what the 20th century did to the exhibition.
Why not make meetings and conferences into art spaces for schwung? Let our experiences of Central Park or Le Jardin inspire a change of the meeting model. Hans Ulrich Obrist finally refers to an important master of business art, Kurt Schwitters, who had the same idea and who baptized his movement Merz by aborting com from commerce.
Daniel Birnbaum is curating here an evolutive garden project. There's every year another artist coming, and it's very much what Schwitters, Kurt Schwitters, the great Kurt Schwitters called that dimension of the Märzbau being a shrine of friendship.
Or, gun, I, or, gun, I, organ, or, Ga, I, A, O, O, G, A, I, A, organ, 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 organize, organize, organisation, organization, organization.
So the art and business hybrid, an art firm for playful technicians, artists, audience and critics.
Account for this period of not knowing. Are they prepared to pay for not knowing? And that's what we work with, is to all the time try and work with not knowing and try and get a capitalist structure to pay for not knowing.
What is this? This is an exercise in discomfort, and in some ways, what you have done. It's kind of funny, but I'm also serious as well. What you do when you're entering into this realm, into this domain, this strange art business divide meeting, is extending your discomfort, your area of discomfort. I mean, you've gone way beyond what. I mean, you said several times we were afraid, we were worried, maybe our identity was going to get, maybe our whole name was going to get screwed, all these kinds of things.
It seems to me that in the success-failure model that refers to, that is a result of thinking in terms of measurement. That where artists begin to train themselves is in the world of possibility, to absolutely leave the world of measurement to the greatest extent possible, which can only result in, which is the world of comparisons and standards, which can only result in success, failure, being included or not included, and win-lose. Those are the only outcomes possible from the conversation, what's in it for me, and will there be enough? The conversation of possibility is continually exchanging self for others, which is what they mentioned first, which is that you appreciate that your mistakes are moments of learning and adding information, as well as what you played yesterday that worked, right? It's all the same. So there is no such thing as, oh my God, the mess is not to be included, and everybody's watching. And I think that's a very, very important distinction to make here. The greatest actors, the greatest artists, the greatest human beings that I ever.
You feel that you could bring more than you bring, but they don't want you to bring what you could. And this was it was too direct, but this is exactly what I mean. You have to install a situation where people feel free to bring what they decide to bring.
And in the middle, there is no longer an event, but aesthetic play. Yeah, remember Mona Lisa with a felt hat in Italy. So instead of knowledge, we get wisdom. Instead of success, we aim for virtue. Judgment replaces measurement, and energy instead of efficiency. Welcome to graduation at the Artworks Consulting Business School at Haus am Lützowplatz in Berlin 2002. Dagmar Reichert talked to Max Stock, drawing the nice diplomas of the Masters of Business Art.
Okay, ja, dan mag het.
wie lange Zeit braucht das alles? Das geht jetzt relativ schnell. Ich habe mir jetzt eingeschrieben und dann die Namen. Okay. Ja. Also wir können gleich anfangen.
And when Gert Nilsson presented Madame Karin Pot with a banana-colored bust of crazy old Freddie Nietzsche, I suddenly remembered an artist friend from Paris, Gilbert Pierre, and recalled an artwork that I think fit what we've been talking about best. So just look at this. The critic consultant rolls the media drum, and the artist comes out of his little tiny box, whilst technique plays up the music, to which the artist makes art for us in the audience. Oh, by the way, sorry about this, but did you remember Peter, the student with the double portraits? Here he is, 10 years later, still looking as the graffiti guy he wanted to remain. He never turned a bureaucrat. Nevertheless, he successfully manages his own Stockholm gallery. Good luck, Peter.